We live in a world brimming with opportunities, yet we often fail to recognize the profound responsibility that lies upon each of us. It is not enough to live merely for ourselves, pursuing fleeting pleasures or superficial successes. Instead, we must learn to live in such a way that the mark we leave behind will resonate, echoing across time to touch the lives of generations yet unborn. To make a mark that lasts, it is essential to first understand that it is not the loudness of our actions that defines their impact, but the quiet strength of our character. Think of the great leaders, the quiet reformers, the teachers who dedicated their lives to the flourishing of others. Their names may not always be known, their achievements not always celebrated, but their influence persists, woven into the fabric of our society. This influence is not forged through forceful speech or grand gestures, but through the cultivation of virtues, honesty, courage, compassion, and faithfulness. A person of integrity lives in a way that demands respect, not through their power, but through their consistency in doing what is right. But how, you might ask, do we cultivate such a life? It begins with intentionality. Every day, every decision, no matter how small, has the potential to either build or erode the mark we leave. Each time we choose the harder right over the easy wrong, we set the foundation for a legacy that will outlive us. Education plays a significant role in this endeavor. Not only the education of the mind, but of the soul. The lessons we impart to those around us, whether formally or informally, influence the way they approach life. The principles we choose to live by become the principles that shape the future. The most critical lesson is perhaps this: we are not living merely for today but for tomorrow. We are but stewards of a world we will leave behind. It is not enough to simply exist in the present, concerned only with our personal struggles and desires. Our duty extends beyond this. We must ask ourselves, what will the next generation inherit from us? Will they inherit a world shaped by selfishness and division, or one built on kindness, understanding, and the pursuit of higher ideals? To inspire generations is not to build something for them to admire, but to create a world they can inhabit with dignity and hope. The great mark you leave will not always be visible in the monuments you build or the wealth you amass. It will be seen in the way others treat one another, the values they carry, and the courage they summon when facing life's inevitable trials. It will be felt in the lives you touch, the hearts you uplift, and the minds you challenge. When we step outside of ourselves and recognize our role in the grand story of human progress, we begin to understand that the mark we make is not ours alone. It is shared by all those whose lives are touched by our example, whose thoughts are shaped by our wisdom, and whose spirits are elevated by our actions. We may not see the full extent of our influence, but rest assured it ripples through time. The legacy of character is, undoubtedly, one of the most significant aspects of the mark an individual leaves on the world. It is often said that actions speak louder than words, but it is the character behind these actions that defines their true weight and lasting influence. Character is the bedrock upon which lasting impact is built, and it has the power to transcend generations, leaving behind a footprint that no amount of time or change can easily erase. It is not the momentary glories or temporary fame that shape the course of history, but the quiet, consistent demonstration of integrity, kindness, and courage that resonates deeply within the hearts of those who follow. When we speak of legacy, it is essential to recognize that it is not only the extraordinary acts of a few famous individuals that shape the world. It is the collective, ongoing actions of countless ordinary people led by their character that create the tapestry of human progress. History remembers those whose actions were rooted in moral conviction and unwavering principles. For example, in times of great social upheaval or crisis, there are those who stand resolute, unwavering in their commitment to what is right, even when the world around them seems to falter. These individuals may not always be the ones who achieve the loudest applause or garner the greatest recognition, but their impact is far-reaching, often growing larger with time. The lives of such individuals are marked not by the fleeting applause of the public, but by the quiet, uncelebrated ways in which they show up for others. Think of the mentor who patiently guides young minds without the expectation of praise, the neighbor who offers a helping hand without looking for compensation, or the parent who chooses to live with integrity so that their children can inherit the same values. These are the individuals whose actions, though small in the moment, ripple out and affect the lives of others in profound ways. The consistency of their character becomes their most valuable legacy. True legacy is not about the monuments or accolades we leave behind. It is about the enduring influence we have on the hearts and minds of others. One's character, what they stand for, how they treat others, how they respond to adversity, becomes a touchstone for those who come after them. It is through the prism of character that future generations will interpret the stories of the past. It is not enough for a person to simply be known for their wealth, position, or fame. These things fade away, as do the names and titles of those who were once revered. What remains is the essence of who they were, the principles they upheld, and the virtues they embodied. Consider the examples of those who have left an indelible mark on the world. Individuals who may not have been recognized as giants during their time, but whose character inspired great change long after their passing. Take, for instance, the countless unsung heroes who, through acts of service and selflessness, changed the trajectory of their communities and the world at large. Whether through their courage in standing against injustice, their honesty in times of deceit, or their compassion for the suffering, these individuals were not driven by the desire for recognition, but by an intrinsic sense of what was right. Their legacy is not one of fame, but of moral fortitude, which continues to inspire those who encounter their stories. There is also a certain responsibility tied to the legacy of character. A person who strives to live with integrity becomes an example for others to follow. They set a standard of living by which others can measure their own actions. In a world where moral relativism often prevails, the importance of character as a compass for right and wrong cannot be overstated. Character provides a foundation for decisions, a structure upon which an individual can stand firm even in the face of great pressure to do otherwise. This is the kind of legacy that does not need to be announced or promoted. It stands firm on its own merit, inspiring those who encounter it to adopt the same principles. But how does one cultivate such character? It begins with self-awareness and a commitment to living according to values that transcend personal desire. Character is not an inherent trait, nor is it something one simply has or does not have. It is built over time through conscious effort, reflection, and the constant refining of one's actions. It involves choosing the harder right over the easier wrong, consistently standing firm in one's beliefs, and living with a sense of duty to others. It is through these repeated choices, both large and small, that a person's character is formed, and in turn, their legacy is forged. The mark of character is not limited to great acts of bravery or monumental achievements. It is often seen in the quiet moments, the patience shown in a difficult conversation, the respect given to others, and the humility with which a person faces both triumph and defeat. These are the traits that form the true foundation of a lasting legacy, one that will inspire generations long after the person has passed. The legacy of character does not demand acknowledgement or reward. It simply exists, a quiet force that shapes the world one individual at a time. Purposeful living is the bedrock of shaping a legacy that endures and influences future generations. It is not by accident or by mere chance that some individuals leave a lasting impact on the world. Rather, it is the result of a conscious effort to live with intention, to be aware of one's actions, and to strive toward a goal greater than personal satisfaction. Every decision, no matter how small it may seem in the moment, contributes to the broader tapestry of one's life. Those who live purposefully recognize that their choices, attitudes, and efforts today will shape not only their lives, but the lives of those who come after them. Purposeful living is not a matter of pursuing personal ambition or chasing fleeting desires. Rather, it is about living in accordance with principles and values that serve a greater good. This kind of life does not hinge on immediate gratification or the applause of others. It is about a deep understanding that the real value of one's life is measured not by personal success, but by the contributions made to society, to others, and to the world at large. People who live with purpose are those who can see beyond the present moment and understand that their actions will ripple out and have effects far beyond what they can see or predict. They understand that their decisions will shape the future in ways they may never fully understand. To live purposefully is to live with a clear sense of direction, to have a vision for what one wants to achieve, and to strive for excellence in that pursuit. It involves setting goals that align with one's values and understanding that every step along the way, every choice made, contributes to the fulfillment of that greater vision. These individuals are not driven by the desire to merely get by or to live for the moment. Instead, they are motivated by a sense of duty, service, and long-term impact. Purposeful living is characterized by self-discipline and a commitment to pushing through obstacles, setbacks, and failures in order to reach one's goals. Purposeful living requires an understanding that life is not just about personal happiness, but also about making a difference. It is about taking responsibility for one's actions and recognizing that the world we create today will affect those who follow us. The choices we make, how we treat others, how we approach challenges, how we invest our time and energy, are the building blocks of the legacy we leave behind. A life lived with purpose is one in which every action, whether large or small, is directed toward achieving something meaningful. Whether it is dedicating oneself to a noble cause, raising children with a sense of integrity and compassion, or contributing to a community, purposeful living is about creating a life of value, not for oneself alone, but for the greater good. One of the most profound aspects of purposeful living is the ability to align one's actions with core values. These values act as the compass that guides an individual's choices. Without values, life becomes directionless, driven by the whims of circumstance and fleeting desires. By living according to deeply held principles such as honesty, respect, responsibility, and kindness, individuals can navigate the challenges of life with clarity and conviction. Values shape our decisions in ways that reflect not just our own interests, but also the interests of others and the broader community. A life lived in pursuit of these values and not in pursuit of momentary pleasure or gain holds the potential to leave a significant mark on future generations. Purposeful living also requires a deep sense of reflection and awareness. It is not enough to simply go through the motions of life without ever taking the time to reflect on one's actions, their purpose and their impact. Those who live with purpose take the time to pause, to reflect on what is truly important, and to evaluate whether their actions are in alignment with their values. Reflection is a powerful tool for growth, allowing individuals to recognize when they are off course and to adjust their path accordingly. By taking the time to reflect on one's life and actions, individuals can ensure that they are living intentionally and are not merely drifting through life without a clear sense of purpose. Living purposefully requires resilience and the ability to endure hardships with grace. The pursuit of a meaningful life is not without its challenges. It is not a path of ease or comfort. Those who live with purpose are often faced with obstacles that threaten to derail them from their course. Yet, purposeful living demands perseverance. It demands the ability to press forward, to stay committed to the vision, and to continue striving for what is right, even when the road is difficult. It is through these challenges that character is forged, and it is through this perseverance that a legacy is built. The strength to endure adversity and stay true to one's purpose is one of the most powerful aspects of purposeful living. Living with purpose often involves a commitment to continuous growth and learning. Those who are purposeful in their lives recognize that they are constantly evolving, and they seek to improve themselves through education, self-discipline, and introspection. They do not settle for mediocrity, but strive for excellence, understanding that their efforts to improve themselves will not only benefit them, but will also contribute to the betterment of the world around them. By committing to lifelong learning and growth, individuals ensure that their legacy will be one of progress and positive change, influencing future generations to continue striving toward higher ideals. Purposeful living is the key to leaving a meaningful and lasting legacy. It is not something that happens by accident. It is the result of conscious choices made with a deep understanding of one's values, goals, and impact. Those who live with purpose create a life that is not just about themselves, but is about serving others, contributing to society, and making the world a better place for future generations. Purposeful living involves discipline, reflection, resilience, and a commitment to continuous growth, all of which come together to form a life that leaves a mark on the world. It is a life lived not just for today, but for tomorrow. The duty to future generations is perhaps one of the most profound and often overlooked responsibilities that we as individuals carry with us throughout our lives. While much of our society is focused on the present moment, on immediate gratification, personal success, and the pursuit of short-term goals, the true measure of a meaningful life is rooted in the understanding that our actions today shape the world that will be inherited by those who come after us. To live with the awareness that our choices are not just for ourselves, but for the generations that will follow is a deeply humbling and empowering realization. It calls us to recognize that we are not merely living for today, but are stewards of a future we may never see, a future that will be shaped by the seeds we plant in the present. Understanding our duty to future generations begins with a recognition that we are part of something larger than ourselves. We are not isolated beings existing in a vacuum, but interconnected with those who came before us and those who will come after us. The legacy we leave behind is not just a collection of our personal achievements, but a reflection of how we contributed to the collective well-being of humanity. Our lives are threads in a much larger tapestry, one that extends far beyond our time and our immediate concerns. The choices we make today, whether they are in how we treat others, how we engage with the environment, or how we contribute to the betterment of society, are all part of the narrative that will be passed down to future generations. One of the most significant aspects of this duty is the responsibility we have to future generations in terms of environmental stewardship. The choices we make in how we use and preserve the natural resources of the earth will determine the quality of life for those who come after us. It is easy to become complacent and assume that the world we know will remain unchanged. But the reality is that the decisions we make today about how we care for the planet, the legacy of a polluted environment, diminished natural resources, and a degraded ecosystem, will fall squarely on the shoulders of future generations. This responsibility is not something to be taken lightly, for it is through our actions that the earth will either flourish or suffer. As stewards of the earth, we must make choices that reflect a deep sense of duty to those who will inherit it. This means embracing sustainability, making efforts to reduce waste, protecting biodiversity, and ensuring that future generations inherit a world capable of sustaining life. Similarly, our duty to future generations extends to the social, cultural, and economic systems we build. The institutions and structures we create today will shape the lives of those who follow us. Whether we are creating systems of education, governance, healthcare, or economic opportunity, the way we design and implement these systems will either provide a foundation for growth and prosperity or create barriers to success and well-being. It is essential that we work not only for the benefit of ourselves, but also for the benefit of those who will rely on these systems in the future. This requires a long-term perspective, one that looks beyond immediate political cycles or the demands of short-term gain, and instead focuses on building a society that is just, equitable, and sustainable for generations to come. Equally important is our duty to future generations in terms of the values and principles we instill in them. The legacy we leave behind is not solely in the form of tangible assets or material wealth, but in the ideas, beliefs, and values we pass on. What kind of world do we want to leave for our children and grandchildren? What ideals do we want them to hold dear? Are we fostering a culture of empathy, respect, and cooperation, or are we cultivating division, selfishness, and apathy? The values we pass on today will shape the character of future generations, influencing their decisions, relationships, and interactions with the world. By living in accordance with values that prioritize the common good, values such as integrity, kindness, justice, and humility, we set an example for those who follow us and ensure that they are equipped to build a better future. Education also plays a pivotal role in fulfilling our duty to future generations. The knowledge, skills, and wisdom we impart to the next generation will be the tools they use to navigate an ever-changing world. It is not enough to merely provide for their physical needs. We must also equip them with the intellectual and emotional resources they need to face the challenges that lie ahead. This means investing in education that is not only focused on academic achievement, but also on the development of character, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. By doing so, we ensure that future generations are prepared to meet the demands of an increasingly complex world and are able to make informed, thoughtful decisions that will contribute to the well-being of society. At the core of this duty is the recognition that we are trustees of the future, not owners. The world we inhabit today is not ours to exploit or hoard, but a precious inheritance that we must protect and nurture for those who will come after us. This stewardship requires a sense of humility, recognizing that our time on this earth is limited and that the world we leave behind will be shaped by the actions we take today. It is easy to become consumed by the demands of the present and lose sight of the long-term implications of our choices. But it is our duty to consider not only the immediate consequences of our actions, but also their lasting effects on future generations. The duty to future generations is not just about what we leave behind, but how we live in the present. It is about making choices that are mindful of the impact they will have on others, not just today, but for years to come. It is about living in such a way that we can look back with pride, knowing that we did our part to create a world that is better, fairer, and more sustainable for those who will inherit it. Whether it is through our actions as individuals, the systems we create, or the values we uphold, our duty to future generations is a responsibility that calls us to act with wisdom, foresight, and care. In fulfilling this duty, we ensure that the legacy we leave is one that inspires and uplifts, creating a foundation upon which future generations can continue to build and thrive.